So, our group focused on if children should receive excused absences for mental health days at school, and the current policy that we found that was closest to us is from Connecticut, and it states that under Connecticut General Statutes 10-198F, local or regional school boards must permit each student K through 12 to take 2 mental health wellness days per school year. So my name is Nellie, and I focused on this with research with, not on children. Traditionally, research was done on children where adults made decisions for them, but childhood studies encourages research with children, meaning we value their perspectives, their feelings, and their experiences they have in school. Stress, anxiety, and emotional overload can directly affect their ability to focus, complete work, and engage with others. Because mental health impacts children so strongly, they should have a say in how schools support it. Listening to students gives adults a clearer understanding of the stressors they're facing with things like workload, social pressures, or anxiety around attendance. This also connects to Article 12 of the UN Conventions of the Rights of the Child, which states that children have the right to be heard in all matters that affect them. Policies like excused mental health days become more effective when children's input is included. Research shows that when students participate in defining what mental health means to them, the resulting policies are more realistic and actually useful. Schools should collaborate with students, educators, and mental health professionals to build guidelines that truly support well-being. In conclusion, involving children in decisions about mental health support is necessary. Research with children helps us understand how attendance expectations relates to emotional well-being. Moving forward, child-led councils or advisory groups should help shape school mental health policies in ways that are more supportive, more realistic, and more aligned with children's rights.
I'm Sophia, and I focused on the childhood as a social construct. Childhood as a social construct supports the idea of students having excused mental health days in school. It challenges the norm that only physical illness counts as a valid absence. Children's feelings matter, and we should be adjusting around that. Mental and emotional well-being is just as important. To change this, students should be able to advocate for their needs. Childhood is a social construct, so school is a social construct as well, which can be changed. It also means that everything is always changing, and we can change the rules to support the needs of students, like bringing attention to children's emotions and experiences, allowing children to advocate for themselves and express their needs, creating flexible school policies that support mental health, and providing support systems for students after days off. Seeing childhood as a social construct shows that school rules can change to better support students. Allowing mental health days recognizes that children's feelings matter just as much as physical health. Since both childhood and school are systems that we created, we can adjust them to meet students' needs. By letting students speak up about what they're going through, paying attention to their emotions, and creating flexible policies with the support for after they return, schools can become healthier and more understanding places for everyone.
I'm Jasmine, and I focused on children as beings and not becomings. Oftentimes, we talk about childhood as if it's a simple, carefree stage of life, but modern research and students' lived experiences show that this idea just isn't accurate. Seeing children as beings and not becomings help people recognize children as individuals with their own psychological, social, and academic pressures. These pressures that are ranging from standardized testing, extracurricular commitments, peer expectations, social media, and home life are not trivial. Combined, they generate measurable stress responses that are comparable to those experienced by adults in high-demand occupations. Students experience burnout, emotional exhaustion, and cognitive fatigue similar to adult workers, yet while workplace policies often include sick leave and paid time off, students are expected to keep going no matter what. This reflects the adult/societal tendency to minimize or overlook the legitimacy of children's stress. I also wanted to bring up the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, UNCRC, particularly Article 12, because it affirms that the right of children to express their views and have those views taken seriously should absolutely include decisions related to their mental health. When schools in person are explicitly discouraging breaks, self-advocacy, or open discussion of mental struggles, they risk having children get into a culture of overwork. This early internalization of hustle culture encourages individuals to prioritize productivity over their mental well-being and suppress symptoms of burnout and normalizes chronic stress, which will likely have long-term consequences. In conclusion, Excused Mental Health Days for Students directly attacks this harmful narrative. It encourages the idea that mental health is just as legitimate as physical health and encourages students to advocate for themselves. And importantly, it teaches students to recognize the onset of burnout and articulate their needs and to engage in proactive self-care skills that are essential for lifelong resilience.
My name is Saika, and I focused on global childhood and how it relates to absences for mental health days at school. So some countries are moving toward educational policies that prioritize mental health. Currently, only Taiwan and the U.S. states of Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Kentucky have policies that support excused mental health days, to name a few. Our proposal aligns with this trend, showing how childhood policies change in response to international conversations about child welfare and rights. In some parts of the world, schools are not just places of academic learning, but also sites of emotional support, counseling, and care. Our policy reinforces this expanded role by allowing 3 mental health absences requiring follow-up check-ins and preventing punishment for taking care of one's mental health. This reflects some countries' expectations that schools should support the whole child in students' rights, not just their academic performance. Globally, children do not have equal access to mental health resources. Our policy acknowledges that not all children can manage their emotional challenges without support and tries to reduce inequality by ensuring optional counseling support and protection from disciplinary consequences. To conclude, our idea supports the global childhoods pillar by recognizing that childhood is defined differently across cultures, and policies must respond to children's real-world needs to ensure equitable experiences.